Rushabh from Docsumo, and he's here to share his experience regarding building the product from Nepal and India. He will go through all the experience he has collected so far while building the product, which is not only solving national but international problem as far as I can see. Before that, I'll snatch 5 minutes to go through some of the thing regarding community, so that if you are new, we'll get to know more about the community. AIML community is created by created to go and connect all the IT engineers or all the people who are working with the data and IT professional, right? And the main motive is to get connected, learn, help each other, and find if there is new opportunities, right? And to get connected to the community, you can go through the website and you can click the link and get, you can be a member. And after that, we have this Slack group, right? Here we have different channel. You can use those channel to ask if you have any problem, right? And if you are more research oriented kind of people and you want to have some sort of friends or discussion group, then you can use this research channel. If you are CTO, CEO of any company, and if you are looking for the data engineer or data scientist, then you can look for the job, right? Or if you are looking for the job, you can go there and you can ask, okay, these are my qualification, I'm looking for this kind of opportunity, if there is any, please let me know or help me, right? You can use for that. And we have other like general kind of discussion where we can throw different ideas, or we can put different links or blogs we have visited and we find it interesting. That is what I have to say regarding the community. Now, as the second part of this webinar, Rushabh will be here giving his presentation and sharing his journey and idea. Rushabh, now you can share this screen and it's all yours.
Sure. So, hi everyone. Thanks a lot for having me here. Since it's a relatively small group, let's keep it as interactive as possible. With a quick emotion, there is a reaction at the bottom. How many of you have like wanted to start a product company or like any startup of your own, or have you started? So if you can do like a thumbs up or something, that would really help.
Okay, Rushabh, thumbs up for starting, or we have already started, or we are planning to start, or combine
anything like planning to start. Like I want to understand like how many of you are like seriously thinking, let's say in the next 5 years, that okay, like once I have like sufficient experience or like whatever be your thought process, like that you want to start like a company of your own. Okay, quite a few. Okay, cool. Then let me share my screen. Yes, I see Dhruba, Sabin, Ujjwal. Thanks a lot for that. Hans Raj. Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot, team. Let me now share my screen and walk you through the presentation. Hopefully, you are able to see my screen. Is it clear?
Yes, Rushabh.
Yeah, awesome. So let me first of all give you like a background about myself. So yeah, so I come from really humble beginnings. Was born and brought up in Bombay, and from 1990 till 2020, we used to live in like one bedroom, hall, kitchen, family of four. I have one older sister, and one of the things about living in Bombay is that it's super competitive. So you quite literally have to work pretty hard. Otherwise, like it's just like a really competitive place in general. And gladfully, I got accepted into IIT Bombay. I cleared the IIT JEE exam, and I did like a 5-year course in mechanical engineering. So my thesis was actually parallel computing applied to finite element method. So very much on the coding side. I was always into coding. Like I can still build Android apps. So learned Java, JavaScript. Even our first website was made by me. So always been able to code, though that is not the main thing that I do now. And one of the other things, so 2013, I graduated from IIT Bombay and joined IIM Bangalore. So did a 2-year MBA from IIM Bangalore without any work experience. Let me tell you upfront, that was a mistake. The 2 years at IIM Bangalore, I have quite literally learned nothing. Just that I have a fancy degree which gives credibility, but beyond that, like most of my learnings have been on the job. But yeah, I did graduate from IIM Bangalore in 2015. And one of the things that I want to highlight is decision making, because if at all you are thinking about, let's say that I want to start a company, um, you quite literally have to see opportunity where other people see risk. And to give you some examples about it in my own life, in my third year of IIT Bombay, I was fortunate enough. So ITC and PNG are the first two companies to come to campus for internships, and I got into ITC, and it was like they only take like 4 or 5 people in a batch of like 650 people, and I got into it. And fortunately, I also got into a German university. So I applied for the Dart scholarship, and I got into it. And here is the decision that I had to take, right? So one of the things that IIT Bombay says is that, let's say if you get an internship in any of these reputed companies, if you don't take it up and go for something else, you cannot even mention that internship in your resume. So not only is it like, hey, like A or B and both A and B are good, but if you don't go for A, like the B option, like you get a penalty for it. And the decision that I like, and this was one of the hardest decisions I had to take because I did not have any guts back then. I always used to be a rebel, but essentially that's where I realized that, hey, like in the long term, and in 2012, I had never gone out of India, let alone like like maybe I had taken a flight once or twice in my flight when I had gone to visit my aunt in Muscat. And fortunately, I took that decision. Like the thinking was that, hey, if I don't IT something like ITC, like I will get it later on also. Um, but if I don't go to that German university, two things will happen. One is that international exposure I will not get, and the second is that I will probably not know what research in an good university is like. And essentially, the regret minimization criteria got me to the stage like let go of that. Like even if you don't mention that internship in your resume, like I would regret much more if I did not go to Germany. And I went there, and it was one of the most epic times of my life. Like those 3 months working with that professor, PhD student, never have I regretted going there. And the exact opposite would have happened if I had gone to ITC. Um, Similarly, the second thing place where this has come for me is, so again, like given my background, I got interviews with quite a few venture capital funds in India, and Rocket Internet had come. So Rocket Internet is the parent company of Taraz, and they were trying to recruit for Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and all of these countries. Uh, Again, like out of all the 7 IIMs that are there, only 2 people joined. And the reason for that is everyone saw it as very high risk that you are leaving India and let's say working for one of these big consulting firms and Rocket Internet. And again, like by that time, I had done one internship in Deutsche Bank, so knew how that environment was. And what I realized is that I wanted to be on the executive side of things and not. So for me, that risk of going outside of India, leaving aside big brand names, and then trying to figure out like, is this something that I want to pursue, was a much better option than, let's say, taking the easy road. Uh, Again, like I have never regretted that decision, because if I had not gone to Nepal in 2015, I would not have met Bikram, my co-founder. So, and this story repeats again and again. So in 2018, actually, so me and Bikram, my co-founder, he is Bikram, he is Nepalese. Yeah, he is based out of Kathmandu, and we have like a team in Kathmandu. We have like 18 or 20 people in Kathmandu now, and we have about 7 or 8 people over there. Just to give you some background about Docsumo, we help enterprises make automated decisions from customer documents. So typically, let's say if you have gone and applied for any bank account or any loan or any SIM card, you would have to give different kinds of documents, your ID card, utility bill for address, your pay slips for salaries, or like your tax returns for salaries. So we automatically read and analyze those documents for US based financial services. And we have been doing this for the last 3 years. 2019 is when we started Docsumo. And we recently, so we already work with quite a few large companies in Nepal, in USA, 1,000 people companies, $1 billion plus revenue, where we help them automate this process. Um, yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight about that is in 2018, so both Bikram and I were working at Rocket Internet. Actually, we did not have any money to start any company. And but one of the things, so since 2016, 17, we have been like discussing, hey, we should start something on our own. Bikram is really, really good at the tech side of things. So he was a data scientist at Rocket Internet, had worked there for 3 years. I had worked personally with him for a long time. And we were always thinking that we want to start something. We had like uh, different ideas and things like that. But essentially, 2018 is where I quit my job. I said, like, I cannot, like, I had worked for 3 years. I said that, hey, like, if I keep continuing this, it will be like, I would hate it, like, if I don't take that risk. And just to give you an idea, the salary was really good at Rocket Internet. I had, like, if I had continued, I would have gone into more and more upper level management. I was already like the country manager for Sri Lanka. Um, but I saw that as a more boring, less risky option with lesser learning opportunity. And 2018, like Vikram and I said that, hey, like, let's just switch. And that's how we started a service company because we had no money. So we said, like, what do we do? And quite literally, the decision criteria was that Vikram can write code and build things. I can like sell, market, and do other things. And I can also write code. I can do like management of the delivery and things like that. But I don't code on a day basis. And that's how we actually decided to start a services company. And we did that for about 8-10 months. Was pretty successful. Um, but before I jump into like what how did we start and uh, on that side, like one of the things that I realized is that uh, who like do you need a co-founder in the first place, and who should it be? And the thing that so 2012, so almost 6 years before we started a data science consulting firm, I had actually started one company with three college friends. And that company we worked on it for about 8-10 months. The problem statement was also really good. We were helping all of these telecom giants reduce their operational expenses by utilizing their by like reducing the diesel consumption of towers. So if you see all of these cell phone towers outside of the cities, they use diesel to power it up, and we had found a way to do it. And that startup did not work, not because the technology did not work, because we had like conflict between the three friends. And what I realized from that is that a working history that you have with someone is very different than, let's say, uh, a history of playing games with your friends. Because as soon as you have money and roles and responsibilities, the equation really changes quite a bit. So typically, like if you are looking for a co-founder, one of the first things I would say is that look for someone who you have a working history with. And especially uh, like, so this is like of all the things that you have to do to make a company successful, this will probably be the most hardest thing that you will do. And it is also one of the first things that you will do. But if you get this right, you would be in a much better position than later on. And this is also the reason why you see that uh, solo founders are not as successful, because more than skills or money or anything else, it is a long journey, and you really need someone who will be there through all of the ups and downs, who can do different things for you. And that is also one of the reasons why friends or new acquaintances do not work in all situations. People do have friends and it works, but the underlying thing that you need to figure out is you need someone who you have a working history with, or you are compatible working with that in a very long term. And by long term, I'm quite literally meaning tens of years. Like, you will be stuck. Like, if the startup does well, you'll be stuck with that person for a very long time. Um, One of the other things to consider is, should you have complementary skills, or should you look for someone with multiple hats and things like that? What I would suggest is, it doesn't matter like what skills that person has, because at the end of the day, you really need the qualities that you need to be a founder. Is one is someone who is really motivated, and by that, like, yeah, like, you cannot just have like a give up attitude. You really will have to push through a lot of things. So that intrinsic motivation to learn, to do things, to prove yourself, that doesn't come naturally to everyone. You have it, but then you have to like also nurture it. The second thing you want is a really smart person, which means that they will be able to adapt and wear multiple hats. So let's say most of you are from that coding background. So it's not necessary that you find someone who is in sales or marketing or things like that, because that you will anyways learn. If you see over the last 3 years, like, we have done and learned a lot of things that we had never planned for. And which means that that initial starting point of, hey, we have a team with complementary skills, is only relevant to the point that you can launch that first MVP out. But beyond that, like, everyone has to wear multiple hats. So in my case, like, I like tomorrow, let's say if my co-founder is sick, I can run that engineering team for a month. I won't be able to help them on a day-to-day basis with like every little detail which comes with code, but at least directionally I'll be able to help them. I'll be able to like figure out what is being built, uh, figure out like, hey, like, prioritize like in terms of engineering, like what problems to solve. So those kind of, you really want someone who is smart enough that they can adapt and wear multiple hats. So motivation to learn and do, wear multiple hats, is more important than the starting point of complementary skills. So before I go into the next part, any questions for me so far?
Yes, and we'll encourage to ask question. If you are comfortable by doing your video on, you can use the audio, right? And you can ask any question to the Rushabh. Yeah, Hansraj.
Yeah, hello, uh, Rushabh and Sasir. Yes. So my question is something very basic. Uh, you talked about this line, right? Because you were kind of like in a situation where you were having less risk and more boredom, that kind of thing, and that's why you were trying to switch to something that is like kind of with more risk and more interesting. Now this is the notion with every other aspiring person who wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Because he or she has the same notion that he wants to play with more risk, but the problem that comes with finding the right problem statement. So how do you uh, so how can any aspiring entrepreneur find a right problem statement? Because finding a right problem statement in the long run does really matter.
Correct. So Hansraj, brilliant question. I will come to that in a bit. How do you figure out what problem to work on? Just give me like couple of slides. I'll come to it. It's all a full slide in itself. So I'll walk you through that.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
eh, eh,
Yeah. And Anis, do you have any question? Yeah, Ansraj will revisit your question again, right? After that slide. Anis, I have seen you have raised your hand or
Hello, Rushabh, and hello, Shishida. Like my camera is not working, so I'm not able
okay.
to
yeah,
like
Yeah.
open
Yeah, go
my
ahead. Go ahead.
stuff. And my questions is similar to Hansra's that how would you find the crux of the problem which you want to do or solve that problem? So how would you get into that problem? That's my question. Same as
Okay.
ours.
correct,
Yeah, I think we'll
correct.
visit that. Yeah, Rushabh
Yeah,
have
we'll
set
visit that.
aside for that. Yeah.
So,
Do
Yeah,
you
I
have
have
any
one.
question?
so
Yeah,
Rushabh,
Nirdesh.
I have a question as well. This question, my question is a little different. So, as you went through your story, there was something I was interested in, right? So,
Sure,
so you have this all these big international clients, right? So you had to. So did your previous experience at Rocket Internet help to gain those clients, or how did you approach all the international clients? Because launching a company from Nepal,
correct,
or right now, or India, I don't know actually about India, but from Nepal, there's
correct.
this. I think there is still this. I'll call it trust barrier for international companies to work with us. So how
Correct.
did you go past that thing? And yeah, also Rocket Internet, if
Yeah,
the experience at Rocket Internet, the network helped towards it, right? So that would be my question.
correct, correct. So Nirdesh, thanks a lot for that question. Actually, there are two questions over there. The first one I would say is that when do you think you should start? As in, should you start right after college? Because there are all sorts of founders, people who have started while studying, people who have started like after work experience, people like something like McDonald's, people started like at 50 also. So typically that Rocket Internet experience was super, super helpful for me because quite literally, like think from this point that having zero work experience, I was dropped in Nepal and my job was to onboard 5,000 sellers. So I've gone to all of the complexes in Nepal where you have sellers. I learned Nepalese myself and I was able to like convince them to join Daraz and bring them on board. What that really taught me is that if you drop me in any country and ask me to build a team or sell, I will be able to do that. And then again, like the same thing I did while I was also in Sri Lanka. So from Nepal, I went and started working in Sri Lanka, where I was the country manager for 1.5 years. And culturally, like Nepal and Sri Lanka are very, very different. And again, that experience just helped me get more confidence that, hey, like I can adapt and think through a problem and then work on it. So that's the first part, that working at Rocket Internet did give me that confidence, saying that, hey, like I can do something on my own. One of the things that Hansraj previously mentioned is I was looking for more risk, more challenging kind of a problem. To add to that, the point where I was in my life is I had just paid back 18 lakh INR of college loan. So I had cleared that in a matter of 3 years and I was debt free. And I was okay. I did not have too much savings. Like my savings like would have lasted probably a year max. And I was okay to take that year to work on something on my own. The only good part is that I shifted back to India and started living with my family. So my rent was zero, my food expense was zero. So quite literally, like I could work on that. To answer your second point of credibility, I think you to get US customers or to get international customers, you as a founder need to approach and not sell. If you approach anyone with a sale in mind, uh, automatically that trigger gets like your language, everything changes, and they will see your outreach as sales. At least for the initial, like if you are trying to go to these customers to figure out, uh, so ask for help. Like say that, hey, I'm a founder. I am already selling in Nepal. We have so and so customers. We are trying to launch in the US market. I see that you are doing XYZ, and I'm really intrigued as to what your day-to-day life is. Would you be able to help me with a 30 minutes or 45 minutes call? And the genuineness of that outreach is what, because people want to help people. So if you frame it in this perspective, you are able to get meetings. And if you get to, like, let's say 20 of those meetings, there is a very, very high likelihood that at least two of them will say that, hey, like, I want to work with you. And that brings me to my next setting, which is sell something and keep selling. What we realized is that 2018, when we started Arch Analytics, which was a data science consulting company. So me and Bikram, we were working from our living rooms for a year. Like, we were sitting on the floor, had like a nice. We did not have any desk or a chair. We were quite literally working from the floor, and we were taking projects on Upwork because we did not really have money to hire anyone, nor did we know what problem to work on. So the only thing we knew is that, hey, like, if we want to do something, let's do services. We started getting projects on Upwork. We started converting them. Our score on Upwork was incredible, like almost, it was around full five. So that started becoming like a business. Then through my network and everything, I started like approaching larger companies and started getting projects. Within about 8-10 months, uh, our cash collected was about 94,000 USD or 95,000 USD, and that really gave us the confidence. And this sales was coming from me because, like, Bikram was on the delivery side. But the funny thing that happened is, at the start, Bikram had said that, hey, I am a coder. My job is to write code. And that has, if he were on this call, he would laugh a lot on this, because that was the furthest from the truth. Because even he had to sell, hire, onboard customer, manage team. So if you think about it, like, whenever like the sale is technical, at some point you need someone who has that very deep technical knowledge to answer certain questions to convince a client. Because let's say if you are working for an e-commerce company on the recommendation system, to them it really matters a lot. So beyond the point, like, as a just a salesperson, like, I cannot go to the level of detail that saying that, hey, how will we implement a certain thing which will get it. So and this brings us to the point that as founders, like, all founders need to sell and keep selling, because there is no other uh, there is no other option. Like, if you don't sell, no one else in your company will sell for you. um, this brings to the next problem. So we were doing this and things were going along really well. So from 2018 March to October, November, the revenue was going up. The team was almost 4 or 5 people, me plus like 2 full-time people plus 2 3 interns. So that was the team, going pretty well. But we were not happy. And this is again, like, you will see time and again comes up through this thing. Um, so we were not happy because what we saw is that if we kept on this path, we would, like, the goal we would want to aim is becoming New Sigma 2.0. And we did not want to be like a 500 people technology consulting company, because that was not personally a goal that either one of us had. And thankfully, like, we had a mentor at that point in time who told us, like, we were discussing like what we should do, and what he told us is that your goal should be, your milestone should be the number of weeks to not be a consulting company. And that hit us really hard. And then it became like something that, hey, like, we are doing well as a consulting company. How do we shift? And what we realized is that it is going to be a hard pivot, because if you are like just two founders, you cannot run a consulting company and do a product. And again, like, I say cannot, there might be exceptions to it. I'm just talking in terms of our experience, because you will have limited time. So trying to create a product, put it out in the market takes a lot of time and energy. So what we realize is that, hey, like uh, a year down doing well as a company, if we would have continued, we actually took that decision saying that, hey, like by the end of 2080, we'll stop. Like if we are not able to figure out a problem and launch it, we will actually finish, not be a consulting company. And that's it. Like take the money home, do something else in life. Because time is the only limiting resource that you have. So then how do we go about like while being a consulting company, how do you figure out like where do you want to go? So one of the things we did, and again, like the dots connect backwards, since we were taking all of these projects, we had a lot of problem statements. And in fact, like we also now maintain a sheet of problem statements that we come across. We might not solve all of them or any of them, but at least like we always have this. Like you cannot one day decide that this is the problem I'll solve for the next 10 years. That has to it takes its own time. And so Bikram and I like started writing down from our job experience, our consulting project experience, all the problems that we had. And then we started assigning weights in terms of size of the market, tech risk, execution risk. Uh, have we ourselves face the problem? And then put a score. And what is our personal opinion? Is this something that we want to take up for the next? Actually, that time we did not say 10 years. We said that, hey, like 1 year is done. Do we want to do this for the next 1 year to decide like if we want to keep continuing to solve on that same problem for the next 2 or 3 years? And based on this, each of us did this exercise. And you can see like practically there are only two problems that either of us wanted to work on. And document AI finally was the one. So it was not even management. We named it incorrectly, but document AI was the one that we finally picked to work on. So hopefully this answers your question. Any questions on this before I go to the next topic?
Yeah, Hansraj, did you get your answer or still there is
Yeah,
something?
I got mine. Yes.
Okay. Rushabh, one quick question. You were in consultant company, or you had that, right? So you come across all the problem and you could go and collect this problem statement and you mark it, right? But let us imagine
Correct.
if somebody need to go and find the problem he or she want to solve, right? Then what could be the approach they can start?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like I would suggest that like as a habit, make a practice of writing down problems that you come across, either on the internet or in your own this thing. Because you cannot really one day say that, hey, now let me figure out like what I will start like a product company. Let me figure out what problem. It really doesn't work. Like today, like I can start. There are there is a whole list of 50 or 60 problems that me and a couple of other founders have put together, like saying that, hey, these are all the things that are broken in the world or will go through change. So the only way to do it is to be disciplined. So you don't need to be in a consulting firm to come across problems or have your own consulting firm to come across problems. Even while doing your job, I'm sure like you will see that, hey, there is no easy way to do X, or Y is like really, really painful. So unless you have that practice, you cannot really come on a certain day and say that this is the problem I'll solve for the next 10 years.
And Anis, did you got your answer? Because I think that was the question what you want to ask people.
Yeah, Shishir, I think it's more clear now.
Yeah, okay. One quick question. Here you have mentioned regarding size of the market, right? And execution risk, right? For that also,
Correct.
I assume you need to go and invest a lot of time for the research and find that find those scores, right? And what was your approach? It's like, how did you resource, or is there any framework where you can do some sort of market size study or execution risk study, or so? What was
Correct.
your approach for that?
Correct. So market size is easier to look into. You can Google and figure out like document AI market, and highly likely you'll get some Gartner study, Gartner this thing. One of the other ways also to look at it is, so if you go to Capterra or G2, wherever you have, where companies list their products, you can go to that software category and see how many companies are there. So if you today go to OCR software, there is a whole list of companies. Marketing automation for that matter, someone actually writes landscape. So 2011, the marketing landscape had about 100 products. In 2018 or 19, there were like 6,000 products. Now I think that number of products has crossed 10,000 or something. So the rate at which that category grows also gives you that indication of size of that market. So you can look into research, or you can look into the category. And again, to do this exercise, you're not really looking for a very thorough research. Essentially, this is more of a starting point for you and your co-founders to discuss what problem statement you want to deal with and how long. So because let's say if I am yes on this and my co-founders are no, both of these are no, then we can really like have a discussion on that and see like, did I independently make a mistake, or what was the reason that the other person really doesn't want to work on that problem. So you're not really looking for a very detailed on this thing. Execute again, like a lot of these are examples, like not examples, like we just made it ourselves. Like we did not do a lot of detailed research to come up with this. Essentially, it is a starting point for that discussion between those two people as to what will you be working on.
Okay. Does it mean that it is like icebreaker, saying that, okay, we need to start something now, and this is the point
Oh yeah,
from where we can start?
correct. So Shishir, like we time boxed it. One of the things that we have done throughout the company since 2018 is time box everything. So 2018, we said that, hey, like within that first year, if you are not even able to pay ourselves, let's say 30% of our market salary, we'll just quit. Thankfully, we were able to save or make almost 100,000 USD in that 2018 from consulting gigs, which means that we get more time to do what we are doing.
Okay.
So if you time box things, that really helps you to make like essentially time is your bigger constraint. So if you time box things, then if you hit that, and then you can make a decision whether do you want to put more time on it or just call it quits. So yeah, so the icebreaker over here was mostly on, hey, it's October 2018. We want to start something by the end of December. We have about 8 to 10 weeks. Can we figure out at least one problem where we want to build an MVP?
Okay. Hansraj, I think you can.
Yes. Rushabh, while you were going like on detail to the question of finding the right problem statement, what I understood basically was this point that building a company or building a product or service based or product based, let it be any, it's not an overnight journey. So it takes time. You have to keep a track of different problem statement, and then finally take a leap of faith, right? But now my question is that, because you have been there already, so how do you get that intrinsic point, or how do you get that go, okay, this is the problem statement and this is the right time to penetrate the market? So
Yeah.
how does that call come? Because you already have a list of problem statement, right? Now you need to take
Yeah.
action upon one. So how does that call come to you?
Yeah. So answer is great question. It doesn't. You have to look at it from this point of view. Just assume that you are wrong, and then say that, assuming that I'm wrong, if I don't launch this MVP in the next 4 months, will I regret it? And if once you put it that way, then all you want to do is launch it and see. Because what's the worst that could happen? That all of your hypothesis was incorrect, and that's what I'm going to come to next. Like we made like so many errors in that hypothesis testing that quite literally we would have shut down. But like we at least from not having built any product in our life to building and getting that first product out, that was phenomenal because we got that courage that hey, like even if this doesn't work, tomorrow I can build something else and launch it in the market. So just assume that there is not going to be a single point where you'll say, yes, this is it, because then there is just that's a bias. So just assume that all your decisions are going to be wrong to certain degree.
So is it more of a ad hoc kind of strategy that you apply?
Yeah, as in most of the times we are wrong as people. So our thinking around this was that, hey, like this seems to be a very, very interesting change. And one of the other things that happened in our case is that we had solved this problem. Like we were building APIs for one bank in Canada where their treasury department was doing things manually. So what gives you that confidence is, have you faced that problem yourself? That's why you have this column here in the first place. So if you see, most of the problems we have written here is we have faced ourselves. And I can go into like where we have come across this. I can go a lot into like this thing, like diet plan meal subscription. So Healthify Me, like for example, if anyone knows Healthify Me in India, it is exactly this. Like it's a big market. Like typically what gives you that conviction to even look deeper into that problem is if you have faced it yourself. That's where all of this is coming from. I've like failed so many times trying to do a healthy diet, reduce weight, that like for me, like this became a problem statement. Can I solve my own problem?
Yes, that addresses my queries.
Yeah, I think we need to move ahead.
Yeah. So here is the thing that is very, very important in the starting journey. And again, this will follow the same thought process that you will mostly be wrong. So let me come to this. So it is end of 2018, January 2019. We have gone all into building and launching a product. All of our consulting customers, we have told that, hey, like December, Jan is the last month that we'll service you. So we are all in, like, there is no going back. Either it works or it fails. We had money saved. We calculated that we can make that $100,000 last till September 2019. So we had about 9-10 months of lead time to launch and get like initial customers. And we thought like that's enough. Now comes the problem of, let's say that we have figured out like this is the problem. Next question is, who is this problem really big for? Like who should be my ideal customer that I will start out with? And one of the things we did is I started talking, and this is where also Nirdesh's question comes in. I started talking to, my first hypothesis was chartered accountants in India, because we realized that invoice is really high volume. Almost everyone has it. We did not have a data set to build like an invoice API. So how do I go about it? So our thought process was, hey, I want to get US customers, but I don't have an API that I can sell to them. I need data to build an API. Indian customers also face this data, especially chartered accountants in India who do this on behalf of other clients. So let's try to go with them. And then I started going out in the market. And this sounds all reasonable, right? Like, why would this not be reasonable? Like, you want to build that API so that later you can sell in the US. So I started talking to chartered accountants in India. And all of them, like either like they don't want to pay. Second is they are not the tech savvy audience who will want to use a product in the first place. Almost all of them don't pay for Microsoft Excel, which is what their entire companies run on. So that paying, the mindset to pay is out. The second is they are not even tech adopters. Like they do things on Excel, not because tools do not exist for them. It's because they are slow to change. That's how they have been doing things. And so from January 2019 till April, May, we were doing, I was talking to accountants, like it was completely wrong. Uh, Gladfully, the thing that happened was we also started, since I had a good network in India, I was talking to larger companies saying that, hey, we are building document AI. Do you see this in your workflow as a challenge? And PayU, which was the first customer for us, which is still a customer for us now after like almost 2.5 years, said that, hey, this is a big problem for us. And that's how we actually ended up building Docsumo as a first product, not for accountants in India. We still don't have any invoice API for Indian accountants. Basically, we built API lending stack for India. So we read like ID cards, bank statements, passbooks, and different kinds of documents which are required for any loan processing in India. And typically, the way to think about your hypothesis. So let's say that you have figured out like this is the problem where I want to go in. Don't write code. Try to write your hypothesis first. And this is the process. What you want to do is write saying that, to give an example, I believe that small business lenders in the US struggle to scale with manual document processing, which makes it difficult for them to increase revenue. So to validate this hypothesis, what you want to do is at least have 10 conversations with small business lenders in the US. Approach them saying that, hey, we are building a product for you and want to launch in the US market. Would you be able to help me from your experience to figure out like what challenges do you see? Do that for like 50, 100 customers. Hopefully like 10 of them will give you time. Then in those calls, you want to like test these hypotheses. Uh, Hypothesis testing and finding your ideal customer profile is such a big exercise that if you do it right, then you will be on that trajectory where like success comes one after another. Otherwise, you will struggle. Like we did this exercise again last year just to figure out like, are we putting the right positioning in the market? Because US is a very mature market, so you cannot go in with a half-baked hypothesis. So you want to test both the things, whether like where does it impact them, and to figure out like what does it affect. So scaling document processing, if scaling is a problem for them, and it's a part of revenue operations, and it impacts revenue. So in our case, like that, so you don't want to write just one hypothesis. We actually wrote 6 hypotheses, and you cannot test all 6 with everyone. So what you do is test 3 with the first 3 customers. That will weed out some of the hypotheses as incorrect. So one of the things that we believed that, and our website, like if you went through our website in 2019, it would say that like your time to process a loan, cut it down to like 5 minutes. What we realized is that small business lenders really don't care about it. Like, in fact, one of them told us that, hey, like if some business wants a loan in 5 minutes, we would actually red flag it, because then there is some problem with them that they need that money in that 5 minutes. It's not like an individual loan saying that you are applying to buy a phone. They are applying for a loan worth $100,000 or more. So they need to be able to wait like 2-3 days. So our positioning struggle to process loans in 5 minutes was wrong, which makes it difficult for them to keep the customer, like convert that customer wrong. So that's how we started eliminating these hypotheses to figure out. So what we realized is turnaround time is not the need that small business lenders in the US have. So you want to figure out in a logical or a scientific manner where you can build questions and then test these with hypothesis with those customers. So yeah,
Yeah.
Shishir.
Yeah. Rushabh, does it mean that you guys started with value proposition canvas, and after that you got 5 or 6 hypotheses based on that, and you did a user interview with the customer?
Yeah, so we did not do the value prop canvas first. And again, like value prop canvas is something you do after this. So we actually first wrote the hypothesis, tested the market. You cannot do a value prop canvas before talking to your customer.
Okay, my question is, how do you come up with that hypothesis, right? You just you need to do some sort of workshop or exercise or something like that to come with those five hypotheses. It's like, let us go for coffee. We have 30 minutes. We'll come with the five hypotheses. I think that is not the how it will look, right? What was the
Correct.
approach to come with that five hypotheses?
Correct. So very interesting question, Shishir. The way to think about it is to actually look at your competitor's website, because that will give you an idea as to how they are positioning, and their positioning might also be incorrect, but at least it will tell you certain values or benefits that they are highlighting while they sell to customers. So that's one way to figure out like, hey, this could be an hypothesis. The second one is to refine your hypothesis after the first few calls. So in our case, let me show you. So this is an entire exercise in itself. So, and so, yeah. So what we did is we wrote down all of this, like growth is an unmet need, efficiency is an unmet need, turnaround time is an unmet need, compliance is an unmet need. Even before all of that, we wanted to figure out whether this is important. Because if you talk about unmet need, they will go on and on. Yeah, we have a problem, like we have to hire and things like that. But even before that, what you want to figure out is this like level, like priority one problem for them, at least for the person or the company that you're speaking to. Because unless it is priority one or two, they won't even like work on this problem. So for example, like if your CI/CD pipeline is broken, but like you are able to push things into production, you might not look for tooling. Like you will say, yeah, it's broken and things like that, but you might not actually try changing it because something is working and it's not like broken enough that it's important to fix it. So that's how you actually go about writing these hypotheses in the first place. And then the thing that you want to do is, based on this, actually write down the questions that you will ask. So typically so there are three things that you want to check for each hypothesis that you have is, does this problem exist? What can't you accomplish because it exists? And what have you tried to solve this? And unless you get a yes, 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 or some qualitative answer for each of this, which is indicative of a yes, uh, then that unmet need doesn't exist. So in our case, what really worked was, are you like what we wanted to check is struggle to grow loan volume. So we asked like, how do you do it currently? And they're like manually. And we said that, hey, like COVID-19, a lot of loans, how did you go about it? And the kind of answers we got is, some people said that we hired 150 temporary staff, which is amazing. Like, which means that that problem just not only existed, they had like bounds and bounds of problem. Like they had to hire 150 people to approve all the COVID loans that the US was doing at that point in time. Then we wanted to ask like, hey, like, what have you, what does it stop you from accomplishing because you're doing it manually? And again, the thing that you want to figure out is how to frame that question, because you don't want it to be a leading question. So you ask like, how does it affect your business since it is manual? And the kind of answer you are looking for is that, hey, like, we are looking because we need to keep hiring people because otherwise we cannot grow. Which means that not only is that they need to hire 150, hiring that 150 people is hard. So that got proven out, that hey, like at any point they go wrong with their hiring or wrong with forecasting demand over there, they either have too much people on the team and they're doing nothing, or they have like too little people, they're now have more volume and they're losing revenue because they cannot approve that loan in like 2-3 days, and their loan approval cycle is like more than a week or things like that. And then we actually asked like, have you tried to automate? And we actually want them to answer that, yeah, we have tried using this system or we are using that system. It's okay if they say that this is like, it is a problem, but it's a solved problem, which means that you are shaking the wrong tree. But if they say that, hey, we tried 1 or 2 systems, but nothing is working for us, that's the indication where you know that, hey, like it's a big problem, it affects the revenue, and they have tried solving it unsuccessfully. Because then you can use this for the next set of customers that you use, saying that you would need to do things manually. Your revenue operations is broken, and we can fix it.
Okay.
Okay, so we are quite about time, so just wanted to be conscious.
Yeah, one quick question. For this user interview, right? As you mentioned that you cannot go to market with a half-baked hypothesis, right? Which means that
Correct.
you don't have anything tangible to show to your ideal customer or something like that. In that case, how do
Correct.
you narrate what you want to do, or how do you go and communicate with the potential customer to get their feedback? Because at that time you will not have anything, only the problem statement and few bunch of lines, right? How do you communicate at that time?
Correct. So again, like if you ask for help, they are not really looking for you to present them with a demo or with any slide deck or anything. You're asking for help, and essentially what that means is you want to have a conversation. That's it. So ask for help and you'll get a conversation.
Yes, I think we need to move forward because we're on time.
Okay. Then comes the part like, how do you execute? Like, let's say that you have had these conversations. And again, like I'm saying this in hindsight, but we got our hypothesis entirely wrong. We're building for Indian accountants, which was wrong. The good thing is that in about 4 or 5 months, we realized that it was wrong. The bad thing was that had we not gotten that first customer, we had already told the 2 engineers on our team in sort of August that we have only money till end of September and to start looking for jobs. This is 2019. And luckily what ended up happening is that one, the PayU, which actually converted for us, while we were talking to them, it was such a big problem that said that they were a startup themselves, heavily funded, and they were trying to build their own data science team to solve this problem. And for them, they said that we'll give you money upfront and decide on a price. Like whenever we go live, you give us a reduced rate, and we start using these credits. So they actually gave us data and money, and helped us actually validate the solution that we are building. And this was one of the things that we did right, and we would again do it. Like now, for any feature or any capability that we put, we actually like use this to figure out like who is going to consume it as of today. Because unless you do this, you are quite literally going blindsided and building without getting any feedback at the start. So you want to have feedback as much at the start as possible. So, and the beauty about this is that if you ask people for help, you have had those 20 conversations with the right people, and a lot of them are telling that it's a big problem. We have tried solving it unsuccessfully. There is a high chance that at least 1 or 2 might like you and say that, hey, we'll give you money. Can you build this? Or if you ask them, right, most likely they won't put that, but you have to put that in front of them. So if you ask them, hey, if I provide you X product by date Y, will you pay me USD Z to use the product for a lifetime? And that's it. Like that's how you get a commitment. If you have that, you don't need to do it with everyone that you test that hypothesis with, but at least the ones who said that they have massive amounts of the problem that you are trying to solve, you can pitch this to them and see if anyone bites it. So if they do, then you are in business. You quite literally have that first customer who is paying you. So this is something that actually worked pretty well for us. And we now do this all the time for any segment that we are launching into. So, and it's a very simple framework because once you have had that, let's say, hour of conversation or 2 hours of conversation with that one person discussing a particular problem, then they are as invested in you to build a solution. And at least in the US, the thing is that people really do want to help you solve their problem. Yeah, Nishan.
Yeah, Rushabh, thanks for this. So I have a question like once you start building the product and you get your first customer, then when is the right time to ask for certain investment from the investors? And when you are going to saturate your shares, what is the right time for that?
Yeah. So Nishan, like actually we did it the wrong way. We actually launched that product for accountants in India. It was on Product Hunt in June 2019. Had no customers. Actually, like the first customer was this co-built customer for whom we did not even have an API. So we had a half-baked invoice API which this customer could not use. They needed like KYC APIs, they needed bank statement APIs and things like that. And the right way to do it is to get that first customer even before you write code. So had like now with our experience, like I would like like because for them, once you have discussed that and you said that to give you a solution that works to your needs, I need X amount of money, Y amount of data, and Z amount of time, and then you ask them for money, like that's a good point to ask them. Like before you write code is when you want to ask them. So do that sale before you actually build a solution. And it's hard.
So
It's not
where
easy. Like this is not easy, but it's hard. But at least what that means is that you will have that feedback right from the first line of code.
mm, so everyone is risk averse, right? So even before Docsumo, like there was no product. So why
Mhm.
will they want to actually invest in Docsumo? Was it because we already had arts analytics and experiences in the similar domain, and then they felt like you guys are the uh, better people to take on these challenges or not?
Yeah. So Nishan, good question. Yes, credibility is important. The only reason someone will give you money to solve their problem before you have a solution is that you have established that credibility. And that credibility doesn't comes with a lot of things like your background, your interactions with that person. If you have built things, that definitely comes. So establishing credibility is really, really important to get that first customer. Um, but to answer your question that people are risk averse, that's not always true. Uh, the risk averseness of people also follows a normal distribution almost, where you will still have a certain number of people who are innovators and early adopters. So ideally, like let's say if you are trying to do something in the dev space, then getting 20 or 30 engineers who really want to like co-build with you is not hard. And even engineers in this day and age can pay like $50-$100 to get a lifetime license to something which is not even built. That is the whole reason why GoFundMe exists in the first place. So think of it as a GoFundMe, but for like an enterprise product that you are trying to get 10 people, 10 enterprises on your GoFundMe page, and hopefully like you just need one, that's it, to convert. Yeah. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll move to the next one.
I think we need
I
to.
have a question.
Hansraj, I think we can take it at end
Yes, yes.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We don't have much more slides, so let us take that at
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. So let's say that hopefully you have had that one or two customers who told you yes, who either gave you money at the very start or said that if you deliver this product, you have a contract. Like you have a contract with them which says that if you deliver the product by so and so date, I will pay you Y. Let's say you got two of these, you were able to launch the product also. So there is a big gap between the last slide to here. Like in this slide, you have already launched the product and it works for that at least one or two customers. Let's just say that you have hit that point. And that point itself is like what we are talking about is like 6-8 months of time between the two. But let's say that you have done that. Now, what you need to figure out is uh, does this really work for a lot of people, or have I really built like a custom thing for someone? And the way to go about it is to actually give it in the hands of people and see them use it. And what you will realize is that a lot of the hypotheses that you build while working with that first customers will again be untrue for a lot of other ones. And if you see this particular chart, right, the company in this chart is Slack. So when Slack was in January, they had 24 customers signed. After 1 month, they only had 3% people. So what they defined as aha moment or value is, let's say if a team does 2000 messages in a month, then they are not going to switch out of Slack. Similarly for Facebook, that was like if someone adds 7 people in their account, then they are not going to go out of Facebook. So that event is what you want all of your customers to go through, but quite literally not everyone will go through. So what they did is Slack started tracking this. So they said that they saw that only 3% do it in the first month. In second month, 27, in third, 33, and 56. So if you acquire 100 customers, like after a year, like 44 would be gone, which is really bad. Like you spent a lot of time and energy in acquiring a customer. Then they started working on different features and things so that they move people, have people like have customers with that event as soon as possible. And here is where you will see that hockey stick is starts coming in from 27 to 73. Like within a year, they went from, and this is within 1 month, which is insane. Which means that 3 out of 4 people who sign up for Slack will become a customer of Slack, or at least a heavy user. Even if it is not paid, they'll become a heavy user of Slack. And that is where you need to like then go from, let's say, having that 1 or 2 paying customers in enterprise and having that initial product to, let's say, having a product that actually works for a lot of customers. And to be honest, we have also not gone, we probably would be like somewhere in the middle for this particular thing, because ours takes more time to integrate. We still have a long journey to get to a point where it is we are able to, for Docsumo, how we define it is if a customer processes 1,000 documents on their own in production, then they will always be a Docsumo customer, because they will not go back to like doing things manually after that. So okay, I will then quickly go to the next one. So typically, all of this requires people to execute, and you really need people. So to get that first product out, all you need is like 2 smart people who can write code, and you can quite literally bootstrap it for at least the first product, MVP product that you can put on product hunt. Then where you really need money is, so no one, like as a first time founder, it is really hard to like raise funds because no one really trusts you. You really don't have any success behind you as a founder. Maybe you are an awesome engineer and you can build things, but if you get that angel investor to give you, so this is where it really matters. Like today's funding environment is such that people are raising insane amounts of money, and that really biases someone. What you need to figure out is, let's say to launch a product, you can quite literally do it in under $10,000 in today's day and age. $10,000 is when you are not even writing code. Like you go to a consulting company who builds that product for you. You can do that in under $10,000, and that much amount of money, like you can get from rich angels. So raise that little capital just to get that product out in the market. But don't be expecting that as a first time founder, you will raise millions, at least given where we are originating from. If you are based in Silicon Valley and you are working for, let's say, Facebook or any of these large companies as an engineer, quite possible that you quit your job and tell to a few VCs and they'll give you a couple of millions just to launch the product. But in most of the cases, that doesn't happen. Either you have to put your own money or ask friends and family or get some angels to give you that initial money just to get you off the ground, like even build something that someone else can use. Where you really need money is, let's say once you have gone through this process And between this and this, again, you are looking around like a years of difference. So let's say that you converted one customer, built and launched something in like 3-4 months. Another year, you have very little revenue coming in, but at least you have one customer who is using your product. A year has gone by, you have built more capability, put it on product hunt, customers have come in, a lot of them did not like the product, go out, but a few of them stuck around, you got their feedback, you started building things so that the new set of customers will see value uh, faster, and 12 months, 15 months, 18 months have gone by. But you are somewhere here. Like, let's say that at least half of the customers that sign up are at least ending up using the product, even if it is free. Like otherwise, people just give up. Like if you, let's say if it's an emailing software and you cannot send an email in like 5 minutes, I'm just going to churn and go to the next product. So once you hit this point is when actually you need money to, let's say, further work on the product market fit and then start working on your go to market. Like how will you acquire more of these customers? Like, because after a point, like as a founder, you won't be able to like go to the market, talk to them individually and get them. So this doesn't matter whether you are doing enterprise or SMB. Initially, all products will have to talk to your customers, be on even today, like I have people on my WhatsApp, like I can WhatsApp, like once they're invested in you, they will want to talk to you and work with you because you are solving their problem. So that's the point where, let's say you have that 10 customers who are using your product. You are able to show that last year, all of these 10 have gone from doing nothing on your platform to doing a lot of things on your platform. That's when you go about and raise money. Like larger money. I'm not talking about the pre-seed or seed money, pre-seed money. Okay. And yeah, as in a lot of things over here, but the only thing that I want you to take is everything takes a lot of time, especially in SaaS. SaaS is a really long, slow ramp of death. Constant contact. You can go through a lot of company backgrounds. Once you start reading about these companies, like look at SaaStr. SaaStr has a lot of YouTube videos where they interview founders, both successful and unsuccessful. It takes time. Like SaaS is compounding, and the thing with compounding is that a year is very little time to compound. Even 2 years is little time. Second year, you start seeing that, okay, this could actually become big. Third year is when you have more conviction. So that compounding takes time. And by time boxing things, saying that, hey, if you don't hit this by this point, you at least have a good milestone or framework saying that, hey, like the change between this and this point on this graph looks very small, but when you are here, this change will be pretty big for you. So what you need to figure out is that at least in the next 6 months or something, I want to hit this. At least in next, after you hit it, at least in the next, so you're always on that ramp. But yeah, so this is how it typically will look like. And the only final thing that I want to give, so me and Vikram, again, like since we came from smaller backgrounds, our dream or our ambition was also limited. Like when we had started in 2018, all we thought was, can we pay ourselves market salary in the next 2 years? Then it become, can we launch a SaaS product and get customers for it? Then our revenue milestone was like, can we get like $500,000 $1 million of revenue? That goalpost will keep changing. The only thing that you need to realize is you need to start thinking big, because this doesn't come naturally to at least people in India and Nepal, because our backgrounds are not that our fathers have been working in Silicon Valley and we already come from that background where let's say that if it is not big, it's not even successful. For us, like getting $1 million of revenue for your company is a big success, and it is actually a big success. But the problem with that mindset is that it is still a very risk averse mindset, which doesn't work well for companies, because companies quite literally thrive on taking risk and becoming big. So yeah, that's about it. So any questions? We can open up for questions and
Yeah. Yeah. Before asking any question, I will request you to put your video on, right? If you don't, if you are comfortable, right? And just tell your name and in which company or what you do in 2 sentences, and you can ask your question so that other team member will also know about you and will get engaged through this virtual connection. Yeah, I think it's on Hansraj. I think you were about to ask something before.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Okay, a part of introduction. This is Hamsraz. Currently, I'm in my final year at Vellore Institute of Technology, and I'm also interning at software engineer at this company called Grow, which is based in Bangalore. And yeah, my question to Rushabh is like, when you said about executing fast, right? But when you are executing faster as you are growing from, let's say, X to 10x, how do you handle the scalability issue? Because this is the point, so many companies, like, they get burned down, right? So what are the major checkpoints you feel the starting members should have to ensure that they do not get burned out when they are scaling?
yeah. So Hansraj, do you mean founder burnout, or do you mean your tech which has to be scalable?
uh, I'm meaning the combined effort of the tech that you're scaling and the founding team that has to resist that scaling.
Yeah, as in founder burnout is quite real. There is no way, like while you are, let's say, yeah, the value of death really, like, you won't see the graph like this. You will quite see the graph like, anyways, it's not picking up. So you will basically see it like flatlining after some point. The founder to like that's why you need a co-founder while you are in the trenches figuring out like whether this can become big or even a sustainable business, to see whether you want to continue on this. In terms of the tech, the way we did it, again, that is like a separate separate topic on product prioritization. The way to think about it is, so we basically like, there is a framework P0, P1, P2. So if something like P0 is something, let's say that if you do not build it, because you will always have a long list of things that a customer asks or you have identified that you want to build. The way to go about it is to ask that, hey, if I do not build this, will they like stop using, or will they not be able to like use it at all? So which basically like limits the core functionality of it. Something which doesn't limit, but unless they have it, they won't get any value is P1. Something which is like good to have is P2. That's it. So you label things as P0, P1, P2, and then figure out like which to work on.
So you mean that not integrating so many features at a point and prioritizing them, and then incrementally moving ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there
Yeah,
any
man.
yeah any question from anyone? Amit, go ahead. I can see your hand.
Yeah, hello. My name is Amit Sinha. I am a recent high school graduate, but I work as a data scientist at Genis Solutions, which is a UK-based company. My question is like, do you think being based out in India and Nepal both helped you rather than just being in Nepal? Like, what were the advantages of being based out in India, or what are the problems that if you were based out from Nepal, you would have faced? Something like that, yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
there's some problem in that part?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Amit, good question. Like when we actually started, the plan was that Bikram will come to India. We'll have an office in Bangalore and things like that. Where it went, what we realized is, so we had posted for like while trying to hire data scientists, we had posted jobs at both the places, and we realized that the people in Nepal were actually much more capable than at least the people that we were talking to in India. Primarily because in Nepal, a lot of really good engineers are doing like backend stuff at consulting companies. They don't get to work on actual data science problems for a product company. And that is why we were able to get good talent in Nepal. So what we realized is that Nepal has really good talent when it comes to Python, ML engineering. Also, although the talent pool is small, but it's really good. What doesn't happen, and then based on that, we thought, oh, why not have everything in Nepal? Now that we have like 4 or 5 people in engineering in Nepal, where it failed is uh, primarily because Nepal doesn't have a lot of product companies. You can't find really good UX design. At least we were not able to find really good UX designers in Nepal. Not able to find like really good front end people in Nepal. Sales, content marketing. So essentially, like you need to find that ecosystem of companies where the people that you want to work with are already working or are getting educated. So for us, like that's how it panned out between India and Nepal, saying that, hey, like for this particular job, where will we get the best talent?
Yeah, thank
So
you for that.
if we were just based in Nepal, like so a narrow way to think about it is we'll only hire in Nepal, and then you would be stuck because you wouldn't get in time a really good product designer or a really good front end engineer.
Yeah, thank you for that. And follow-up question on that, like, how did it impact getting your customers? Like, how did it impact being based out both in Nepal and India helped you get customers on that aspect rather than just
Yeah.
being in Nepal?
Yeah. So people will doubt you because, especially because you are a new startup. So people ask like Nepal, why Nepal? So even so, this I'm talking about 2019 before COVID, 2018 also when we were doing consulting. We used to like we have a lot of faith on our engineer. We know their capability primarily because Bikram can do that data science thing on his own. So he has been working, so he knew what kind of talent we had. And we pitched that talent in every call. We told them, so we were remote even before COVID hit us. And we used to tell them that, hey, like these are really, really smart people and you will like working with us. Um, so yeah, again, like need to keep selling. Like you can't really say that, hey, like we have like a team in Nepal and make them think, oh, maybe they are doing it as a cost saving measure. It is not a cost saving measure. Like we quite literally want to work with the best people because like, yeah, because why would you want to work with anyone else? So
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, there is one question in chat, Rushabh from Orman. Orman, are you there? If could it be possible that you can put audio on, you can ask on your own. It will be easier for us to know who are you and get interact with the community member.
yeah. So yeah, Arman. So to answer your question, there are quite a few rewarding decisions. One of the rewarding decisions was going into Techstars, because if you go to Techstars Y Combinator, so again, like that fork in the road, we were applying to YC and Techstars in 2019, like second half of 2019. We actually got into 2 Y Combinator interviews and we had them in Bangalore. And we actually then converted Techstars also. Uh, what will hurt is like, because their deal is that they take like 6-7% of your company for $120,000, which is not a lot of money in absolute terms. And what we then did is to actually talk to founders who went through the program. And it does pinch a lot in terms of that, but it really gave us that exposure thing of going outside. And 2020, since we went there, we had then that credibility saying that we are a Techstars company. We just switched all of our sales and marketing effort to the US only. So we stopped trying to get customers, like even enterprise customers in India. And that had been one of the rewarding decisions looking back, that we went to Techstars and switched markets from India to the US.
Anyone? I don't see any question, right? So my last question, Rushabh, I'm not discouraging anyone. My last question, what do you think? Everyone need to be founder or co-founder, or they need to have one company in this career journey? What do you think? It's like, because when I was in Nepal, right, for 2 years, people used to ask me, why don't you start your own? Why don't you start your own, right? And it's like, I was not prepared for that, right? And what do you think? It's like, we need to have one company, or we can work for others' idea also by just being an employee?
As in, I would say that not everyone should start. Even like in my own case, like let's say tomorrow I wanted to work on a problem, or I needed cash, I would probably take up a job, because it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you get the same amount of time. So you need to realize, like, where do you want to put that time? So uh, not everyone should start, is what I would say. Primarily because everyone is in different points in their time. If you have a big loan, you cannot really start a company. Or let's say if you have just had a kid, or just gotten married, or things like that, or there has been some thing in the family, you cannot really start a company, because to start a company, a lot of things need to fall into place. You need to have that at least a year's worth of time where you can experiment and do something. So unless you are at that point in time where you see that you will be able to take that risk for the next 6 months, 1 year, don't start something.
I think that is very brilliant suggestion, because I have often seen people graduate without making any financial plan or thinking anything. They decide they want to have one company, right? After 1 year or something like that, right? Things doesn't work out, right? And they will have a lot of problem to solve, right? So I think the maturity is something you need to have people starting something. That is what I think, and that is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Anyone would like to ask anything? Seems like we don't have any questions, right? Thank you, Rishabh. It was really interesting and engaging talk, right? And if possible, I think we need to arrange other similar sort of talk regarding startup and how we go and do product prioritization and those sort of things also, right? And yeah, thank you everyone.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, bye everyone. Yeah.
Bye everyone.